teenager, I've always felt a pressure to look a certain way. I never really thought about where that came from and why, but at the back of my head, there was always a part of me that wanted to change how I looked. You're too fat. You need to get skinnier. I have told myself that countless times. In 2000 girls were asked how they feel about their bodies. 90% said that they were unhappy with how they looked, and 67% of those girls said that they needed to lose weight. But it's not only weight. The fact that beauty and changing yourself has become normalized, that teenagers feel comfortable doing so. In 2014, Dr. Soohan Ri, a plastic surgeon in Korea, said, "Middle school children get plastic surgery during their winter school break. It's not considered weird, it's considered normal." It's honestly not that surprising, considering that 94% of all models are underweight, and the media we see is saturated with these models. This is what we're taught to look up to. The ideal of beauty is so omnipresent that most of us feel like it is normal to see female beauty ideals throughout our daily lives. Until we step into a different culture or time where other beauty ideals are present, we don't realize how tangled we are in this modern society. Beauty ideals are what society makes you believe is beautiful. It could be long or short legs, or having dark or light skin. They are presented through art, social media, images, advertisements, magazines, and more. They are impossible to avoid. Everyone in every time is affected by beauty in some shape or form, whether they know it or not. Beauty is talked about so much, but nobody ever questions why it's there or how it's affecting them, as it seems so harmless. If we look at beauty almost 3,500 years ago, which were also the last years of the Stone Age, we see a very different image than we do today. A small figure of a woman called the Venus of Willendorf was found, and is now known to be the beauty ideal of that time. She has a rounder shape, is on the heavier side, has curvier hips, and bigger breasts. The woman having a bigger body reflects the importance of survival and reproduction. Our species had to survive, and so women being healthy, strong, and able to do so was very important. The small figure does not show the face, which suggests that facial beauty was of no importance at the time. This is also very different to what we are told is beautiful today. From 3000 BC to 1600 CE, the closer you looked like the beauty ideal, the higher your social status was. In ancient Egypt, the amount of makeup you wore was what decided the status. In ancient China, white powder became a symbol of wealth, beauty, and power, and so women who wore it felt more accepted by others. In the Elizabethan era, being pale was a sign of pure wealth, as people with more money could stay indoors untouched by the sun. The poorer people were, the more they had to work outside, and so the darker their skin got. Having tan skin was associated with being poor. In the 90s, a particular style called waif became very popular. It is the reason why eating disorders started becoming more common as people were trying to get into this shape. The 90s ended up having the skinniest body ideal in history because of this waif style. Now, in 2019, most so-called beautiful women are skinny, but they are still far from what women looked like in advertisements and magazines from the 90s. Skin color is important in most cultures around the world today. In most Western countries, it is better to be tan. In India, lightening your skin is very popular, and Korea has their smooth, fair skin ideal. Seeing these different ideals throughout history, and what a woman has to look like to be labeled beautiful, one thing becomes obvious. Beauty is made up. It's a social construct. The origin of the word ideal is idea, And that is exactly what society is doing. Society comes up with an idea that could be labeled beautiful, and it then gets marketed through media. It could be anything, and people would believe it to be beautiful. In America, people are starving themselves to look like the beauty ideal. In some parts of Africa, mothers force feed their children to look like the beauty ideal. As humans have evolved further and further, beauty ideals have changed countless times. They vary drastically over time and in different cultures. So many things have been named beautiful. From taller figures, to rounder shapes, to hourglass silhouettes. Some ages valued facial features more than body shapes, or skin colors more than makeup. Of the American 5th to 12th graders surveyed, 47% said that they wanted to lose weight because of magazine pictures. 69% said that magazine pictures influenced their idea of what the perfect body looked like. There are many ways female beauty ideals are portrayed in our society, magazines being one of them. Many magazines designed for women revolve around the idea of beauty, from the models to the layout. Most professional magazines consist of 50% advertisements. The advertisements, covers, models, and pictures all include female beauty ideals. Flipping that idea around, I decided to create a magazine that brings attention to the effect of female beauty ideals on teenagers and women. Women have gone through many beauty ideal phases in their lifetime. This makes it easier for them to understand how inconsistent and superficial they are. Teenagers and younger girls, on the other hand, are new to having that pressure. They believe and think it is the truth that the beauty ideal is the only thing beautiful. This makes it hard for them to cope with the unattainable and unrealistic images they see in the media. Another reason why teenagers feel the need to fit in and match beauty ideals more than adults is because of the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that is very important for personality development. It lets teenagers see themselves as they think other people view them. This happens when the prefrontal cortex matures and can cause teenagers to feel more self-conscious because of what they believe other people think. Basically, the teenage brain is obsessed with what others are thinking. Elfie Scott. This makes teenagers way more vulnerable to beauty ideals than adults, and they need to be aware of that. Not only do teenagers feel pressured by images, but brands are telling them that they don't have the right body shape by making one-size-fits-all clothing. It is physically impossible to make a clothing item that fits every body type the same way. If it doesn't fit you, it gives you a sense of disapproval in your own body. Knowing about magazines and their bad influence, I came to a conclusion that a different type of magazine is needed. A magazine that focuses on unique beauty rather than unrealistic ideals is what could help our society grow. To let people, firstly, look at beauty from a different perspective, and secondly, observe how it is affecting others, is what could give us a chance in making girls feel more comfortable in their own skin. I hope that the magazine I made is able to do just that and make you feel comfortable in what you look like no matter what. Printing a magazine comes with its own challenges, especially if it needs to be sustainable. 350 million magazines get discarded in the US every year. 20% of them get recycled. That is in the US alone. Recycled paper and sustainable ink were requirements for my magazine. I learned how to make recycled paper so that I knew the process before I bought any. Then I had to find a place that could print a small quantity of magazines, which was very challenging. Prices rise so much when you need to be environmentally friendly, and not a lot of places in Bali are able to do that. I communicated with 3 different printers, but for a 12-page magazine, None of them could do it at a price lower than 100,000 rupiah per copy. If you compare that to a small, unsustainable printing shop in Bali that could do the same thing for a tenth of the price, you see how ignorant people are of the environmental cost. This is why I decided to digitalize my magazine. Researching was the biggest part of my project. Reading articles on beauty ideals opened my eyes to this new subject I knew nothing about. I wrote all the articles from my magazine and put that into a layout that I had created. Learning Adobe InDesign became necessary, as it was the platform I used to create my magazine. This is how my magazine turned out. My friends are now passing around some cards directing you to the online magazine. No matter what time you are in, you should never feel bad about how you look. To see beauty ideals through history made me realize that there are so many cultures, religions, and times that have different ideas of beauty. During this project, I realized that anything can be beautiful. Beauty ideals are just made-up ideas, and that shows that you should never feel pressured to fit into any one of them. Beauty goes so much deeper than your skin. What you look like should not define you, as you cannot control it. Your personality, decisions, traits, and flaws are what make a difference. You shouldn't want to change your appearance permanently, but learn to love it as is. Think of other things that make you beautiful. Your strength, skills, determination, confidence, courage, or spirit instead of your appearance. Loving yourself is so important, especially if you are a teenager, and you should never forget that, because you are so much more than your appearance. Love yourself as much as you can, because as Dr. Seuss said, you're in pretty good shape for the shape you're in. Thank you.